Today, I want to talk about action movies that have horror and sci fi elements to them. Now, these genre bending films are 10 movies that I immediately thought of, walked through my racks, and just kind of picked out what immediately came to mind when I thought an action movie, but is also horror and sci-fi. Not now, this isn't necessarily, what I'm saying is the letter of the law as far as action films that are also considered horror and sci-fi. This is just what I think of when I think of an action movie that's more than an action movie. It incorporates elements of horror or sci-fi. There's plenty, and it could be, a 60-40 split, 50-50 split, 70-30. But I like to think of these movies as having a huge sci-fi or horror element to them, but the base of the film truly being action, except for one, and I'll get to that one. But there are so many movies to think about. When I immediately thought of the idea of doing this video, I thought of all the movies that I love that are action movies that are also horror, sci-fi, and have like elements that they aren't it isn't a cut and dry action movie. And nor these cut and dry horror or sci-fi films, but they incorporate elements of all of them. And I think a great action movie, some of these are classic action movies that are revered as some of the greatest action movies, but they have horror and or sci-fi elements to them. And I thought this would be an interesting video. I thought it would open up an interesting dialogue about what could be considered horror, what could be considered action, and is this it's a subgenre, it's a crossover genre of the action movie that also has a horror element or a sci-fi element or both. Some of these have all three. Some of them have two. All of these movies are not just straight plain Jane action movies. They have some kind of element to them besides action. And a lot of action movies are like that. But these ones, like, and some of them are big names. We're going to get to them. But number 10. Again, these are in no order as far as how great I think they are or anything. But these are 10 films that I immediately thought of and picked out. First on the list, Dead Heat. This one is a buddy cop film, but one of the cops is killed and turns into a zombie. And there's monsters, there's zombies. This has got Treat Williams, R.I.P., Joe Piscopo. Joe Piscopo is also in a hilarious comedy from, I think it's from 86 too, celebrating 40 years, with Danny DeVito called Wise Guys. Now, if you're not familiar with Joe Piscopo, he was actually a Saturday Night Live alumni and kind of had some, I think he had some controversy on the show, and he never went on to do anything crazy. He was in Sidekicks as the Martin Cove, what Martin Cove was to the Karate Kid movies. He was that kind of play on a character in Sidekicks. R.I.P. Chuck Norris, obviously. Jonathan Brandis, Chuck Norris, Joe Piscopo is in that one. That was an early 90s one. But Dead Heat, there's sci-fi elements into this as well. This one's super, super, super fun. Vinegar Syndrome put this out years ago. I don't know when. 2022 they put this out. Okay, so not even that crazy long ago. Nice little slip on there. I think you could still find this. I'm not sure. It might be out of print, but Dead Heat, a great one. Oh man, this is a heater right here. Very little horror on this one from a master of horror, but sci-fi action for sure. We're talking JC, Johnny Carp, Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell, 1986er right here. Man, this one is a legendary film. It's beloved by so many. Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell. We got James Hong, who is has an insane acting credits. I have a hilarious James Hong story, excuse me, about him making lunch dates with Lance Hendrickson. It happened right in front of me. I have a great story about that. I'll share it one day. Hilarious. And James Hong is a legitimate legend of cinema. This one, obviously, there's monsters. There's all kinds of weird shit. This movie is so weird, but so good. You could see the cover. If you've never seen the film, you need to watch it. This this one's wild. This might be John Carpenter's most underrated. And I know fans of the film, they love the film, but this one, I thought about this one. It's obviously an action movie. It's without question an action movie. But there's so much, like there's an underworld in San Francisco, and there's sorcery and monsters, and this one is out there. It's out there in the every best way possible. If you have not seen this one is definitely a genre bender. It bends genres and seamlessly. And John Carpenter, I feel like, could have really made his bones making more films like this that bent the genres of sci-fi, action, horror. And he did to a large degree. They Live is 100%. I actually didn't pick out They Live in this. I didn't want to overcarpet. I know that sounds crazy, but They Live, perfect example of sci-fi action movie right there. Again, I wanted to keep this concise. I don't want to do 40 videos, but we're going to talk about They Live one day. It's probably my favorite Carp film. But yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. This one is interesting because I don't think this one would pop up on anybody's radar. Excuse me, drink. Not sponsored by Spindrift. I would love it though. This one freaked me out as a kid. Universal Soldier. Look at that. I got the DVD. I have not upgraded this to Blu-ray or 4K. I have the nice special edition DVD that came out years and years and years ago. This one freaked me out as a kid because Dolph Lundgren making the necklace out of ears. Super, super creepy. But these are reanimated soldiers. So, I mean, cryogenically frozen, reanimated, they are brought back, genetically enhanced machines. You can see it right there on the side. This movie always freaked me out as a kid, and there is like a horror element. Just that scene alone made me think of this movie immediately when I thought about this topic of Dolph Lundgren's character with the necklace of ears, because these are like Vietnam vets that have been frozen and then they're reanimated in modern day. And this one it's such a wild movie. And I vividly remember going into the video store at 5-6 years old and seeing the big Universal Soldier poster on the wall. I remember that was one of the few movies I truly remember my father, my uncle renting that movie and us watching a Jean-Claude Van Damme film and watching it. I want to say it had to have been like 93. So I was a little shit, 5 years old. But I remember this vividly. I remember seeing the big poster on Sight and Sound Video in the video store. And yeah, that's always stuck with me. That scene's always stuck with me big time. We covered this on the podcast, the Sight and Sound podcast, named after the video store in which I saw this at. But Universal Soldier, maybe not one you'd think of about a sci-fi, slight horror, but definitely like a sci-fi element to this and a true action film, Universal Soldier. Some people might not, again, I'm not saying I'm right. This is my preference. I know when I've done videos and I've stated just what I prefer or my opinion, people think I'm saying this is the letter of God. This is the letter of the law. I'm not saying that. This is just what I think. If you disagree, I would love to hear why you think I'm wrong. Go for it. Hit the comments. This one, again, this one is not, this is a horror movie. You know what? I'm taking this one out and I'm trading it in. I'm trading that one out. I'm trading it out for good reason because I'm going to go with Total Recall. This is sci-fi up the yin yang. This one is so wild. This one is so out there. And I don't think this one gets talked about enough. We talk about Conan. We talk about all of his other films. But man, Total Recall does not get the love it should. Where they're going to they're on Mars. No, it's a memory eraser. This dude's having dreams about being on Mars. And there's obviously the lady that with the face going nuts. That scene, the gasping and dying in on Mars, gasping for air. The Marshall Bell with the little gimmick inside him. This takes place in the future in like 2084. Look at that. Look at that. Look at it. We got the back of this, the slipcover on this 4K is sick. A little 30th anniversary action that came out a few years ago. If you don't own this, definitely pick this up. It's got all the special features. I think that the Running Man. Oh man, is it right here? The Running Man. This is a great 4K, but guess what? Zero special features. I don't think there's any. There's nothing on this. But the Running Man DVD that I still have is loaded. Huge bummer on that. There are special features on this one. This one, a classic. Again, I think about the early 90s, being a kid and discovering all these films. Man, Total Recall. That's there's a lot to appreciate with this being a genre bender as well. Action, sci-fi, big time. Now this one, I know I'm going to get some heat for. I know I'm going to get people that are just going to not be on board with this one. I think this one is an action movie, big time, but it is a slasher movie. It is about a killer and a gang of a New World Order gang, and one of them's called the Night Stalker or the Night Slasher, whatever he's called. There is literally a knife, a weapon that is used by this killer that is iconic. I'm talking about 1986's Cobra. Arrow put this out last year. This one looks phenomenal. It's so good. This looks great. This might be one of the most underrated releases of last year. I honestly was blown away how great the picture looked in here. Vibrant colors still. Looks super great as far as like their transfer and everything. But Stallone plays like pretty much like a I'm not going to listen to you cop that's part of this thing called the Zombie Squad. And he is tasked with trying to find the serial killers and the Night Stalker. I think he's called the Night Stalker. And it's a slasher movie. This is a slasher movie. There's just a lot of action elements. There's explosions, there's gunfights, there's car chases. The opening scene is amazing in the grocery store. Stone Cold made out of Rip That Off, which is great. But regardless, this one it's a slasher movie. That guy's got even like a specialized knife. It's the machete. What Jason has a machete, Freddy has a glove. The Night Stalker has the brass knuckle gimmick with the spikes on it and the buck knife. This is a slasher movie through and through, as much as it is an action. Now, if you disagree with me, let's get into an argument then, because I think I always put this up there as a slasher film as well as a great action film. Great release from Arrow last year. It looks fabulous. So good. Now, this one might be the creme de la creme action horror movie, the GOAT of action horror movies. I'm talking about Maniac Cop 2. Rarely, and there's actually a couple more on this list where the sequel surpasses the original, is better than the original. This one, by far the best in the series of the three Maniac Cop movies, but I'm telling you right now, there is insane action sequences in this. Robert Davi playing the detective, Matt Cordell played by Robert Zadar, R.I.P. obviously. This one is wild. There is so much fun stuff in this. It's batshit. It's crazy in the best possible way. And this is a great action movie. I think they made a great horror sequel, but they ended up making a great action movie, a horror action movie. Like they ended up making an action movie and they didn't even realize that they were doing it. And or maybe they did. Maybe Bill Lustig did. Bill Lustig directed this. It was written and produced by Larry Cohen. He did the film, the first one as well and the third one. But man, listen, this one, the greatest 80s action horror. Right here is the Alamo Drafthouse. Even says it on here. Quite truly the greatest Alamo Drafthouse actually says it on the back right there. Quite truly the greatest 80s horror action movie ever made. Alamo Drafthouse. Boom, right there. That should have went on the front. We should have put that on the front. But it really is. It's the GOAT. It's so good. It's so good. I've loved the Maniac Cop movies. Again, same gimmick. have loved them since I was a kid. I saw so many movies as a young kid. I'm so grateful that my parents had the movie channels growing up because I watched so much cool shit on HBO and Cinemax and Showtime late at night, early 90s. It shaped who I am, and this is why I have a passion for it. Like, and I love that there's so many people over the last, 15 to 20 years that have gotten into horror and 80s action and all this stuff. I grew up with this stuff. I am so it's so deeply ingrained into my interests and who I am, and I've loved these films for so long. They're tied to my youth and nostalgia in ways that I never even realized until I got older and I started remembering seeing these and seeing the posters in the video stores. And we're talking early 90s. Like, I've maintained like a nostalgic link to like those early days where I obviously can't remember like exact times or anything like this, but it's so closely tied to 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old me that has found all these films and was watching them on TV. I probably shouldn't have been, I'm not going to lie to you, but listen, I've been in love with the genre of action and horror and sci-fi for the longest time, and 80s comedy, big time. I was raised on 80s comedy as well. This one's a little bit more known as a great action horror movie, but you can't have a list like this and spout 10 of these films off and not talk about From Dusk Till Dawn. This, I don't recommend getting this steelbook, which is supposed to be a Blu-ray steelbook, but I'm going to tell you right now, and it's an all region, and I think this is a German release, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Yeah, it's made in Germany. This is a German release. This is a terrible release. This is a pan and scan. It looks awful. The picture is cut out. Look at the packaging though. They knocked it out of the park. They pan and scan from the Dimension DVD. It's terrible. It's truly one of the worst quality movies I own by far. But look at the scale texture on the steelbook though, and you get the titty twister open from Dusk Till Dawn in the back, the cover, everything about the packaging and the artwork and the presentation on the steelbook is amazing. Unfortunately, the disc inside is completely a piece of shit. The Dimension DVD even looks better than this because it's pan and scanned, and it's like it cuts out. It's like zoomed in. It doesn't look good. Obviously, the first, I don't know, 45 minutes of the film is an action movie, and then the second half is a horror movie. This is Robert Rodriguez directing, obviously Quentin Tarantino writing, starring in. This one truly is, this is probably, one or two as far as the greatest action horror movies ever made. This one's a little bit more accepted and well-known as like an action horror movie, a true action horror movie. Obviously, you couldn't have a list without talking about From Dusk Till Dawn. It's a GOAT movie. I've heard more and more people talk about how much they think it's not that good. Insane take to me. One of the most easily rewatchable films, maybe of all time for me. I remember my parents getting the pay-per-view bill every month if you bought things on pay-per-view when we got digital cable. And I think we got digital cable right around the time that this came to video. So like 96, 97. And I remember going and selecting and bought this like 3 or 4 times. And that was when movies were, however, it was like a $30, $40 back in the 90s was a lot, especially if your bill was $30, $40 higher. And usually it would be $100 higher because I would probably buy a wrestling pay-per-view and not tell them. And same thing with that. And I usually got my ass beat for it. But hey, it was worth it. From Dusk Till Dawn. All right, so the next 3, they're kind of like the action horror, the action sci-fi films of all time. They're like the ones, and you can't really debate these. There's no debating these. And so, I mean, Aliens, the sequel to Alien, much more action than sci-fi horror, which the first one was. This one, though, James Cameron turns the heat up. He comes on to direct this, taking over for Ridley Scott. And this one truly, truly, truly is an action sci-fi movie. Obviously, little less horror. The first one was very horror movie based with not seeing the alien. It's lurking. It's tracking them down. It was very dark, atmospheric, sci-fi horror film. This one, a little brighter, a little crazier. We got specialized guns. We got the blasters. We got the what do you call the little gimmick that she's in? Obviously, we got the all the weapons and stuff, and there's, the Colonial Marines. This is just, I mean, it's a go film in general. But when we're talking about an action movie that also has elements of horror or sci-fi, action sci-fi big time. This is a great, and also this looks great. There are a couple of scenes where it looks like maybe Cameron put a little AI in there. It doesn't look that bad. True Lies is pretty brutal, like the close-ups on Tom Arnold's face when he did, because he released this, True Lies, and what was it? This, True Lies, and The Abyss. The Abyss looks great too. I got no real qualms about The Abyss or this. This looks good. True Lies, though, he did some facial smoothing and stuff on some scenes, and it doesn't look great. But a very tolerable 4K and a big improvement over the Artisan DVD of True Lies. So I'm more than happy. I'll take a little bit of facial smoothing and stupid looking bullshit on the close up on Tom Arnold's face and a couple other scenes. I'll deal with that. But this is a great 4K that came out of Aliens a couple years ago. I have the box set still, but I had to grab the 4K of Aliens because I'm a sicko. I'm not right up there. Predator, man, the original Predator from 1987. This is horror, action, sci-fi, big time. Action movie with a huge sci-fi element. A Predator, obviously, killing, skinning guys, hanging them, just destroying guys. And Arnold. Of course, Arnold. And Predator 2 is super underrated. This is a nice little 3-pack that has Predator, Predator 2, and Predators, the Robert Rodriguez one from 2010, which is underrated. I haven't watched that one in a while, but super underrated. The original Predator, though, is GOAT level action, sci-fi, and a little bit of horror, big time. It's a monster. I mean, he's an alien, so it's sci-fi. And obviously it's got Arnold, it's got Carl Weathers in it, it's got Jesse the Body, Bill Duke. Listen, this movie is primo action, but obviously sci-fi element is huge in it. And this is, when you talk about action movies, maybe people forget to put this on like best action movies of all time, because there is that horror / sci-fi element so big in this one that you don't immediately think of Predator as name the 3 best action movies ever. Maybe you won't, but that's the glory of talking about these genre bending titles that are more than an action film, and they have horror and sci-fi elements, because all 3 genres work very well together. Obviously, all these films I've talked about, all the elements of sci-fi, horror, and even being based in the setting of an action film, those 2 elements of horror and sci-fi mix and meld and stir beautifully with action. Obviously, Predator, first Predator, unbeatable, untouchable, goated. Now, the last film I'm going to talk about, it's hard to even choose between the first one or the second one. You know what I'm talking about. We're talking Arnie. Once again, he's made several appearances on this list. But we got to go either Terminator or Terminator 2. You pick. You make your choice. I actually only have the Blu-ray set of this. I remember picking this up and being so stoked on it. I love this. It's got little raised action going on there. I don't know if you... Yeah, there you go. You can see that. Obviously, this one's got T1, T2, T3, and Terminator Salvation. But listen, come on. The first Terminator is futuristic. Action up the wazoo. Actually, this Terminator 1 obviously is a much more of an action film than T2. T2 a little bit more story, but there are still, this is the greatest movie maybe ever made, in my opinion, T2. But either one of them, sci-fi, big time, all over in the setting of an action film. And Terminator 2 are so rewatchable. T2 was transformative. It transformed what I thought of film, what I thought of movies, how I consumed movies. I remember my 5th birthday party getting the 12-foot tall, or 12-foot, Jesus Christ, I wish I had a 12-foot tall Terminator. The 12-inch or whatever he was, 16-inch or whatever T2 doll that talked. I got that on my 5th birthday, and I remember watching T2, and this is like 93. I don't know when it came out on VHS, probably at some point in 92, because it came out in July 3rd of 91. So it probably came out a year later on video. I could be wrong with that, but that's what I think, because I know it did well in the box office, and then it had a couple different runs in the box office. But I remember vividly watching that, and it just changed everything. T2 has been one of my favorite movies of all time for the longest time. Even since before my true all-time favorite film, The Lost Boys. I loved T2 before I loved Lost Boys. I mean, I saw The Lost Boys at a young age as well, but I was connecting with T2 before anything, and T2 is just goated. And but the first one, I appreciate the first Terminator, because T2 is so revered. It is truly like just so perfect. But T1 it lays the groundwork, and I find that when I rewatch T1, Terminator 1, the first Terminator film, I like it more and more and more and more. Every single time I like it more and more. Will it ever eclipse, and will I ever think it's better than T2? Probably not. But it's damn close. It's damn close, and both of those first two films, perfect action sci-fi films. Big time. Of course, had to talk about that. Now, what do you think? What have I not mentioned that should be on here? Blade, perhaps? Obviously, maybe? I don't know. You tell me what movies I may have missed, but these are the 10 that I saw and immediately pulled out, and I was just like, this one's got to be on a list. This one's got to be on a list. Again, no order, just wanted to kind of spitball on what I was thinking and seeing when we talk about an action film that's also a horror and or sci-fi film. So let me know down below, what is an action movie that also has a heavy sci-fi or horror influence, genre bending film that is an action film, but it's also kind of a horror, kind of a sci-fi film too. Let me know down below what action movie is also a horror and or sci-fi film, either melds both horror and sci-fi into action. Let me know. Let me know what I may have missed, but these are the 10 that immediately I saw, minus the one that I treaded out, and I'm not going to tell you which one. But yeah, this was it's something to think about. And it kind of changes how you think about what a true action movie is. Again, it doesn't matter because, it just doesn't. Listen, I love action movies. I love horror movies. I love sci-fi movies. I really love an action movie that is also kind of sci-fi and kind of horror. I love the genre bending that some of these films have done. And it explains why they're so beloved. You talk about Aliens, you talk about Predator, you talk about Terminator. Those are films, even from Dusk Till Dawn. Any of these films I've talked about, they have a huge following and a huge fan base. And I think it's because they're action films, but they're also a little bit more than that. And they also incorporate elements of two other genres that we as genre film fans love. Action, obviously, throw in a little horror, throw in a little sci-fi. We're going to love them even more. Very easy to eat up. Let me know what you think. What movies did I not mention that I should mention? And what are some action films that are also a little horror, a little sci-fi that I haven't mentioned that you think should have been mentioned? Let me know down below. Give us a like, a subscribe. Let me know you're listening. Let's have fun with this discussion, because all these films are like GOAT films for me. I could watch any of these at any moment, always. I'm never not going to be in the mood for any of these films. So let me know, what films do you think are action films that have horror or sci-fi elements that are as good as some of these? Let me know down below. Give us a like and a follow on Instagram as well, @HeartGuideMedia. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.